something we've never done before on Huckabee Today. I'm going to give you a money-back guarantee on the smile that we hope for you to have, because we've got the kind of person that I believe will bring a smile to your face. Pastor Max Lucado. You know him from TBN, but you probably know him from the books that he has written. In fact, Max Lucado is one of the most prolific authors in all of America, having been able to sell over 150 million books as a New York Times best-selling author. He's got a new book. I've got it right here in my hands. It's called What Happens Next? It's about the end times. And quite frankly, some of us think we may just be living in them. So, Max Lucado, so good to see you. Thanks for joining us, and welcome as we talk about the end of the world.
Well, Governor, I wouldn't be anywhere else. I'm supremely honored to have these moments with you. And yes, I do believe we're not just in the end times, we're in the end of the end times. It's moving fast.
Max, when you say that, it scares a lot of people. They think, oh no, the end of the world, that's just terrible. Your whole book is focused on quite a different perspective about the end times. You say in this book, it's not something that we ought to be afraid of. It's something we ought to embrace and look forward to. So how does a person look forward to the end of the world?
I am so excited about the end of the world. I really am. Every time I read more passages about what God has in store for his children, the plans that he has, the way he has proven his authority over the world, that day in which the devil will be ultimately forever defeated and cast into a bottomless pit. I don't think we need to be afraid. We often say, don't be scared, but just be prepared. And the purpose of this book, Governor, and thank you again for letting me talk about it, I wanted to create, Lord willing, a End Times 101. End Times books can get technical and difficult to understand, but I wondered, Lord, could you allow me to write a book for somebody who's maybe they stayed away from this topic, maybe they are afraid of this topic. Could you allow me to write an approachable, understandable book? And that's my prayer. Time will tell if I've succeeded.
Well, I think you have. I've never seen that any of your books were anything other than a magnificent read. God has truly gifted you to put into words in a way that most people and most authors have never been able to do. It's why I think you've been such a well-beloved author. But in this case, you're taking on a topic that is complicated. I think that's fair to say. But it at least ought to have the overriding, arching view, and that's what I think you accomplish here, is that there are a lot of the details that we may not fully understand, may not know, may not even be pleasant, but the end result, it gets really good at the end.
It does. And you can speak to this from your own experience as a former pastor. You know, it's not easy to lead a church through a discussion of end times. And so I weighed a variety of different angles how to do this. And here's where I landed. I'm curious to see what you think. I zoomed out and I created a timeline beginning in creation, because our God knows the end from the beginning. So if you want to know the end, you look at the beginning. And I went all the way down the timeline, Governor, trying to examine and do a drill down on the important milestones, like the covenants of the Older Testament, the prophecies of Daniel, Jesus and his major resurrection from the dead and how that authenticates him. And then paradise, which is if we die before the rapture, we'll go, and then the rapture, and then the tribulation, and then the return of Christ and the millennium and the great white throne judgment. I know we've perhaps heard all these terms, but it does us good. And I think your listeners owe it to themselves to get acquainted with this. And of course, the very last stop is going to be the new heaven and the new earth. And it's beyond anything that we can imagine.
You know, the economy is uncertain. You never know whether your money's worth as much today as it was yesterday. It's one of the reasons I buy gold from American Hartford Gold. American Hartford Gold has earned a 5-star rating and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau. Be sure to tell them Mike Huckabee sent you. They'll give you up to $15,000 of free silver on your first qualifying order. Call 844-417-1010 or text Mike to 998899. You'll be glad you did business with American Hartford Gold. Between now and that new heaven and new earth, there's going to be maybe some bumps in the road. And I want us to kind of address some of those. What do we see next? What is the next step that those of us who are here on earth now ought to be preparing for and may expect to see?
Yes, sir. What a great question. First of all, if we die before the rapture, we go immediately into paradise. That's what Jesus said to the thief on the cross. Today you'll be with me in paradise. John Wesley said that paradise is the front porch of heaven. It's almost heaven, but not quite. It is heavenly, but it's not quite heaven. But you have loved ones, I have loved ones who are right now enjoying conscious fellowship with the Father and with one another. If we're alive until the next major event on the prophetic calendar, we'll be raptured. We'll be caught up. That Jesus will come for his church, and he'll come for his church and draw us into his presence. And there we will be in glorified bodies. These old bodies that are wearing out and getting old, we're going to get a brand new one. And I'm so excited for those who've been sick all their lives. They're going to get a brand new body. And they will be rewarded by Christ and wedded to Christ. Meanwhile, on earth, and I think this might be what you were alluding to, there will be a terrible time of tribulation. People who have said no to God and no to Christ will be left to face a character that is the most foreboding character mentioned in the Bible outside of Satan, and that is the Antichrist. Imagine when the when the Christians are gone and the world is suddenly missing millions, maybe billions of people, the world will spin into chaos. And that's when the Antichrist will step forth with the skill of a diplomat. He'll negotiate a peace treaty, but then he'll break that peace treaty and demand to be worshiped. And for 7 years, the world will face a dark time unlike any other time. I think the book of Revelation describes this. But at the end of 7 years, Christ will come with his church. First time he came for his church, then he'll come with his church, and he'll set up a 1,000-year reign. And we will reign and rule with Christ forever. Just like the Garden of Eden, God will have his garden.
You know, it's an exciting thing to talk about, all of these activities that we're going to experience. And I think you've done the church a great service by helping us to see it. I want to talk more about what happens over the course of these various moments in human history, leading up to the very end of things, which is, I guess, the beginning.